Here we stand before the reconstructed door of where Martin Luther nailed the 95 Theses supposedly on October 31st. And he was doing that not as a special statement per se. Sure, he was making a statement of the thesis, but that is really how they went through disputation, or they went through trying to argue out their differences, is that they would nail the notice on the door of the church or the town hall or wherever it would be. But it was still important nonetheless. And so he angrily pounded his 95 Theses. And we can say angrily because the German here in each of these theses is very short, terse, and to the point, and all Germans know that is almost a miracle in itself. But we look at that and we see what he has done, but really we think 95, wow, he had a lot of problems, but it can kind of be boiled down to three. One is that he had taken great grievance with how the Pope was making, like he could make the shots, he could call the shots as to whose soul is going to be released from purgatory and whose soul is going to stay in purgatory. And so he had a problem with that. He also had a deep concern for the people of Germany. He was worried about their souls. It was kind of like he was wanting them to go through the soul's journey that he took. That he finally came to an understanding of grace by righteousness and not by indulgences or by the things that you do or the money that you pay. And so Martin Luther had a deep feeling for his people, and these were written out of that. And kind of the third concern was, of course, the indulgences that we all know about. The indulgences, particularly at this time, were being raised by Tetzel, who was the salesman of the century for the Roman Catholic Church. And he had a problem with those indulgences being raised because they were being raised, in his opinion, for a huge basilica in St. Peter's. And that basilica in St. Peter's was one that it cost astronomical amounts of money. And he thought that it was a supreme waste. And so we have this huge project that he has a problem with on behalf of the people of Germany, but deep in his soul he felt and he sensed that this was wrong. This was wrong. We have these 95 Theses, he nailed these, and they were answered and they were distributed. That's what made them very different. They were not just kept to this door, but they were printed, they were copied, and they were distributed. And so it had to be answered, it had to be dealt with. Now on a side note, Martin Luther could not have done any of this without his wonderful wife, Katie. Katie, who he had married almost kind of a last-ditch effort. But he still married her, and she ended up being a very close association and love of his life, but also a great supporter, not only of the home, but of the ministry as well, that he had in writing, that he had in preaching. And one of the affectionate things, people often think that it was maybe a marriage made in between heaven and hell. We won't say purgatory, but maybe it was a marriage made between heaven and hell. But one of the little names, pet names that he had for Katie was the German word Kette, which means chain. And that's just the close relationship they had, and it was a love that grew. It wasn't one that just happened romantically, but it was a love that grew over the decades. So that was a power that Luther also had in his life, as a support of his wife. But these 95 Theses were nailed out of just a deep love for grace not by works, but by faith.